Let's go work on editing a video. Let's see if there's any news. There's a contest? Best guide? Best video guide. Create a strategy on one of the following demons. Red demon, gray demon, or Howlex. And upload. Oh shit, I gotta do this before tomorrow. What if we did all of them? So in today's video, we'll be going over each of the demon fights, and we're going to be going over every single one and talking about raid etiquette in between. I've already got a video over that, link for that video over here if you want to check it out. And I'm going to be going over exactly what you should be doing in your raids in order to make sure that all of them are, and so that my attire is appropriate for this. Perfect. So guys, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So for this video, we're going to be doing a multiple variation team compositions for different things. And if you do need a full list of teams that you can use for raids and demons and stuff like that, link to that is going to be in the description below. So you can check that out and see all the teams for different raids. So first fight we're going to be doing is going to be the red demon. It's going to be the basic demon that you're going to be fighting, the first demon that you're going to need to expand your characters to level 65. And this demon has a combat class requirement for both players on your team of 160,000 combat class. It's going to have an advantage race of human as well as a disadvantage race of fairy. So people who are of the human class are going to do more damage. Here, all humans will deal 30% more damage, and that's why Blue Slater is a very, very good unit for this fight. He does 30% extra damage on this fight, but don't be fooled, he does not do the same on other fights. The next thing we got here, of course, is another unique. The boss takes increased damage from skills with charge, and he's going to take an extra 50% damage from all abilities with charge. So that means that any character that has an ability that does a charge effect where it goes through defense does actually 50% increased damage, and that's why Red Liz does so well. Another thing to note is that the boss will take decreased damage from fairies, so if any kind of fairy DPS you're going to be using for this fight, it's going to get nerfed by 30%. Basically 2 abilities, and they're pretty similar throughout the phases. There's actually 4 abilities. 4, 3, 2? I don't actually, doesn't matter. Anyways, the boss is going to do an area attack on one enemy. It's going to be a bleed attack on one enemy. It's going to be a debuff skill on both of those turns. And the second ability is going to be a breath attack that's going to hit every single enemy on the field and apply 1 ignite stack. And ignite, of course, increases damage by 10%. And bleed, of course, does something similar. Then we got the lifesteal effect from the boss, which is an attack skill card, and this is going to be an area effect attack on every single player on the field, which is going to deal 100% attack on enemies and lifesteal back for the boss's HP. The final ability the boss has that it has on every single phase is going to assume a stance which increases HP by 50% and decrease the damage taken by 30%. This is a flat damage reduction ability. It does not affect defense or defense skills, so you can't lower this. It's a flat damage reduction ability, and of course he gets an increased HP. So if you're wondering why it takes so much longer when he has that stance up, that's exactly why. What's really interesting to notice about this boss is he actually has a rotation, and the rotation is really interesting for the first phase. The first phase, he's actually only going to use debuff skills. He's going to only be able to use these 2 abilities on the first phase. So that the only other ability he can use is the stance ability on the first turn on the first phase. So if you use a debuff skill removal or something that removes stances, etc., that would be something that the boss would not be able to use this Reap Soul ability. And the Reap Soul ability can only be used every 2 turns. So it can be used from the second turn on. It actually can't be used on the first turn. The boss will also use Hell Protect every 3 turns, which is the duration that it actually lasts, but it will use it from the first turn starting. This boss is also immune to any type of bleed, shock, corrosion, or poison effect. It increases all allies attack by 50% at the start of the next turn if no damage is taken. Increases damage from ultimate moves, so it makes it so that you do a little bit less damage from ultis, but there are ways around that. Phase 2 is exactly the same, except he's now going to have an ultimate gauge, which gives him an ultimate ability, and it's going to do 500% attack against one enemy. And then phase 3, he's going to have even more HP as well as all the other things. What's really interesting to know about the phases is that the first phase only has about 244,000 HP, the second phase has 338,000, and actually has an increased defense modifier as well. So just note that the boss gets much stronger on the second phase versus the first phase. And the third phase, he's going to get much stronger as far as attack goes, but not to be too much stronger as far as HP goes, just a little bit stronger. And he's actually going to have a different ultimate ability, which is going to do a 300% attack against all enemies, so make sure you don't let him ultimate on the third phase. You basically want the strategy for this fight is going to be stocking up cards, freezing the boss so he doesn't unable to attack, because he can be frozen or petrified. Alright, we're doing a red demon, and the strategy for red demon is very, very simple. All you're going to need is one character, which is going to be Gother, another character which is going to be a freezing character, which is either Gustav or Merlin, and your third character is a DPS character. That DPS character can be at one of 4 different units. The first unit you can use is red Lissok, second can be blue Slater, third can be blue SR Meliodas, and the fourth unit can be, and the fourth unit is blue SSR Bond. All 4 of these DPS units are insanely good for this particular strategy, but there are other strategies you can use for red demon, and in particular, this is the easiest of the demons. The reason what we're going to do here is I'm going to just go ahead and attack the boss and let him know that he's going to be freezing him first. Now, initially what you're going to have is that somebody who's going to be attacking the boss here, and you're going to use one of 2 strategies. You're either going to freeze the boss or completely lock out the attack abilities of the boss. Now, on this first turn here, you're just going to open up with some damage cards if you really want to, and if you do get a rank up card like myself, you're going to let your partner know that you have a rank up card, because when you do the rank up, you do the 2-star rank up, not a self rank up. You always rank up your entire team, not just yourself. The reason is because there are 6 characters on the field and you don't want to rank up just one of them. Ranking up all of them is a lot better, because if you rank up all of them, you can also rank up your friend Gother, giving yourself multiple rank ups and giving you all 3-star cards. This is the best possible strategy when doing a demon. So now I'm going to go ahead and go bam bam, and then I'm going to go with one of these. And now the boss is completely locked out and he's frozen, and I'm just gonna go, okay buddy, let's go, just do your thing. And he's already dead. You don't need to freeze, and you can just attack the boss and it's all done. This is a very, very easy demon. You don't really have to worry about a lot of things, because there are so many factors that you don't have to worry about. When you freeze a boss, they don't do anything. They just sit there impotently. There's the second strategy you can use is a debuff seal as well as an attack seal in order to make the boss just sit there. And I'll be showing you a different strategy with the different units as well to show you how to completely lock out bosses and not have to worry about anything. On the second phase, the boss is going to have a little bit more HP than the previous phase, and he's also going to have a higher defense value, so you're going to have to kill the boss a little bit quicker. But one of the cool strategies you can use is you can use a 3-star freeze, which actually increases your damage by 200%, and then also use an ultimate ability at that time. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a move on my Elizabeth, I'm going to do another move on my Elizabeth, and then I'm going to use an attack card on my Elizabeth just to make sure we have the damage. The reason I'm doing 2 moves on my Elizabeth and then attacking my Elizabeth is because I didn't actually get any other Elizabeth cards, and the thing I want on my Elizabeth is another Elizabeth ultimate, so I can do the exact same thing my partner did. Now he's using his Elizabeth ultimate on the 3-star freeze here, and it actually just does increased damage, whatever his ultimate damage is, and then multiply that by an extra 200%. Then I'm going to be able to do the exact same thing on my end and actually kill the boss in 1 hit. It's a very, very effective strategy to kill the red demon in 1 turn if you do get the rank ups very quickly, and this is the most efficient way of doing a red demon, and that's why I in particular love using Lissok for this fight, because it's a lot easier. So we're already done with the fight. It's a very, very fast fight. And all you had to do is wait for your partner to do the rank ups, because I do the rank up, then you do the rank up. Again, big pipe damage because of the freeze, and you're done. Love it. All right, on this demon in particular, we're going to be doing a alternative strategy, and this one is basically for people who have low-level Slaters and low-level Deannes. So if you want to bring 2 low-level characters and possibly a Gother or a Gustav or whatever you want to bring, and you're a little bit lower-level player and you don't have a DPS character, this is the maximum potential of what you can do out of this particular team build. But you'd be using red Slater and red Deanne in order to bring yourself some crowd control and actually make it so it's easier. I'm going to be doing this team, and I'm going to be just running it to give you an example of what you can do as an alternative strategy for red demon, so you guys will have a way of clearing it and make it a lot easier for you while you're trying to get gear up. And people will appreciate this build because you're going to bring a lot to the table. Now, the 3 things that you're going to need in this build, the first is going to need a critical chance gear set for your Slater and the passive unlocked on your Slater. If you have those 2 things done, your teammates are really going to love you, because then your whole team is going to get a massive bump, because you're going to give your entire team a really big bump to critical chance. And the reason you're doing that is because typically bosses have a large amount of critical resistance. So by using a red Slater here, we are able to use his passive, and his passive, if I go into it, is going to decrease all enemies' critical resistance by the value of his critical chance when he's entering the battle. And his current critical chance is about 111%, because I have 3 pieces of critical chance gear on him. Now, typically, you don't really use a critical chance gear set on anyone, but so that's why I used a full common set on him. So it's a very inexpensive set to make, and you can do crit chance rolls on it if you want as well to make it very, very effective. Now you can see we're already criticalling the boss, and it makes it very, very easy for teams to do a lot more damage. Now, on the other thing, I think now I have a team, a friend team, where my characters are like level 60, and I can't get to 65 yet, and I'm struggling. And I'm using a Jericho just for the maximum potential. But you can see that there are players in the other team that are level 80, level 75, that are going to carry me through this. And what I'm going to do here is either use my one character that I built up for damage, whether it be Escanar, whether it be Blue Meliodas, whoever it may be. It doesn't matter. Any character that you want to use will be right here for you, and you just do tons of damage to the boss while the boss is completely locked out. And the boss is actually locked out because of the Slater debuff as well as the Red Deanne debuff. The first ability that Slater popped up on the boss actually put 5 debuffs on the boss, and the 5 debuffs stop everything the boss can do besides attack skills, and it does it for 2 turns. Now, the other thing that happens is that Deanne is on the team, and Deanne is actually going to lock out attack skills while also lowering the boss's defensive skills, making it so that your team actually will deal more damage. So this ability here will lose defense-related stats, as you can see, and this ability here will decrease, block everything but attack skills. And by doing those 2 abilities, what I can do is actually just do a full send on the boss, making it really, really easy for us to get through the boss very, very quickly. And I have choice. So now that I've locked out the boss, and he's locked out the boss, we've now gone through the motions. I don't know why he used the rank up last there, but he just did, whatever. We waited, but he did use it to the very end, but whatever, it doesn't matter, I guess. All right, so now we have multiple abilities at the very end here. I can end up using my Jericho ability here, or we can wait. It really depends. But the thing that's very nice about this is he's actually saved his freeze the entire time. And the reason that's super, super helpful for him saving his freeze the entire time is actually I can use a damage ability on the freeze, and then use alternate damage abilities, which will have increased damage because he used that on the freeze. And because the freeze will give an 80% buff on a rank 2 here, it's going to remove all the debuffs, so we got to make sure we use it on the turn we're actually killing the boss. So here we're just going to do some extra damage. I'm going to do a little bit of chip here. The Slater with the full crit chance set is going to do almost no damage, but he still hits for a little bit. And then we have the Red Liz over here doing a lot of damage. So you can even do this. I've done this with a Slater at level 40 at SR level, so I didn't even actually have to rank him up. I did this with my Deanne at level 50 without even ranking her up. No stars on both of those characters getting the passives. Made it really easy early game, and made it a very efficient thing because I didn't actually have to build out units for a raid. So super, super helpful and nice. So at the very end here, I can actually use characters that will do damage in order to just clear the boss very quickly, and we're all done. It's a super fast way to clear the the Red Demon. Makes it very easy all the way through, and it's all one-shot deal. And if I didn't have a Jericho here to do damage, he actually has a Red Liz at the end to do damage. But you see, we just dropped to 900k damage for just a big old flex at the very end, just for fun. All right, so let's go over the basics of the Grey Demon fight. You're going to need a total of 180,000 combat class to do this, and that's with considering your team and as well as your friends. So that's an average of 90,000 per player. The advantageous races, fairies get an advantage here, as well as giants get a disadvantage here, and fairies will get an advantage here, while giants will get a disadvantage here. Overall, the boss has a lot of different passes, but the main 3 things you got to know about this boss are you can't roll back the ultimates on the first phase, you can't put any debuffs on this boss, you cannot make sure. And on the first turn, he's actually going to do a cleanse ability on 2 different units, or a cleanse ability and an area effect drain. The Reap Soul ability is going to do 60% of his attack on all enemies and lifesteal a little bit back. And he's going to do a cleanse that does 100% of attack and cleanses on multiple units. He can do 100 or 120%, and the lifesteal can do either a 60 or 72% attack. After that, it's kind of an RNG fest in what you're actually going to receive, and there's not really sure what's going to happen. For the first 3 turns, it can also do a Vanish hit, which is going to do 150% attack against one enemy and deplete 1 ultimate orb, which is super annoying. He always is going to have an increased 20% defense related stats while he is in the air. What's about Grey Demon is that while he is flying in this form right here, you are not able to use any kind of melee ability and do damage on him. But once he lands on the ground, he will be able to do any kind of melee damage against him. You will only be able to do range damage otherwise. Once he lands, he's going to have more abilities, which are going to remove the same abilities he had before, except he's going to have 1 additional ability, which is going to do some kind of ground slam. This one here. To do a ground slam type ability, which is going to inflict infect on all enemies for 2 turns. And it's going to usually open up with this ability, but he doesn't always. And the infect ability just makes it so that you aren't able to use healing skills. This can be cleansed off with either Blue King or, say, Green Elizabeth, which would be the more primary damage unit to use. His ultimate ability just goes kaplow, and you die. On the second phase of the fight, the boss is going to have a shield on him, and the shield is going to not even be here, apparently. Where's the passive gauge? The boss is going to have a shield called the flight gauge. The flight gauge shield is going to, when it breaks, will actually make the boss land on the ground and make sure that you will be able to hit him and you will also be stunned for 1 turn. While he is in the air, though, he has the same abilities from before, except now they just do more damage. And of course, instead of having the ultimate instead of just having everything the grandma, he also has an area effect attack, and the area effect attack will do a hit on every single unit on the field and do 100% of his attack, and also apply a bleed for 1 turn or for 2 turns, which does a incredible amount of damage. His ultimate ability is basically kills everyone. That's all you have. He literally wipes your whole team. 2 things to note about this boss that I didn't know about, like, in particular, because I just never really looked into it, because you never like worry about these things, are you cannot really bring giants to this fight, because you're going to actually have the bosses will actually take less damage from any giant race character, and also take increased fairy damage by 30%. That's really interesting. I did not know that. And also, it increased damage taken from enemy abilities with Shatter, and that is the actual blue or green king ultimate. Now we're going to jump into the fights, and I'm going to show you a couple different strategies that you can use in order to beat the Grey Demon. Don't forget to like and subscribe. So now we're doing the alternate strategy for Grey Demon, and Grey Demon is going to have a Gowther on one side using a buffing character like Hellbrum or Gilthunder, depending on what your partner has. You're also going to be using a green Elizabeth, and you're going to be using a Merlin. The reason you're using these 4 characters is because this is an ulti rush based comp that allows you to heal up on the second turn. It's incredibly safe, makes it so that you have almost no possibility of losing the fight, and you're able to rush a King's ultimate very quickly, and that's very, very important. And the other team, of course, is going to have Hellbrum and King, and he's using an Alioni instead of a Kane. Either one is fine, because your team is pretty much mono green anyways. You can use either one. It does not matter. As long as you have the passive unlocked for Alioni or Kane, it really does not matter on this particular fight. And the Hellbrum will give an attack skills buff, whereas King will get high damage cards. Now, King relies really heavily on getting critical strikes, so making sure that he gets his critical strikes is very important, and the team that I have is going to be completely based on that. But what I did notice is both of our Gothers are in the same spot, so I'm going to go ahead and move my Gilthunder to a different spot to make sure that the first cards that we're going to receive might match up a little bit better, so we have a different chance, a little bit higher chance of getting a rank up card on the first turn. So for the alternate strategy, what I notice here is that he is actually going to have a rank up card on turn 1. Do not use it, do not use it, do not use it, do not use it. do not use it. Anyways, don't buff. All the tropes. All the tropes. Okay, so the things you don't want to do here. What you don't do is you never do this. You never buff at the very end of a turn. The reason you don't buff at the end of a turn is because you've literally wasted 1 whole turn of a buff being out, and you're doing it on a boss that can actually cleanse the buff. So if the boss actually targets King here and cleanses King, we're going to be in a large amount of trouble. Luckily, he cleansed my Gowther. Hopefully, he does not cleanse the King, and we are super lucky. As you can see, my King lost his buff, so it's very nice. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and use a Gilthunder buff. I am then going to use my Liz ultimate. It's going to push his King up 2 spots, and then he's going to use 2 King cards. Boom. Now his King will have the damages. This is the 3rd King card. He probably should have done there is use the 1-star card, then the 3-star cards, so that his King gets more ultimate gauges. That's what I would have done, but not everyone does that. It's completely fine to go the other direction. So here we go, King doing damage. He now has 2 ultimate gauge here. He did not crit that one, and that is why it's really important to push his King's ultimate gauge up so he can actually get the critical strikes he needs to do large amounts of damage. A lot of King's damage is based on critical strikes, so making sure that he gets those extra ultimate gauge is very, very important. Switching up your cards in the order, making sure that you're using cards that are the lower rarity first, and going through the higher rarity cards is actually also good, because then you get more ultimate gauge orbs as you're progressing up. Now on the final phase here, I didn't get a chance to push any of my ultimates. I could have pushed one of my ultimates, but it doesn't matter. He's going to go ahead and just full send right now, just full send. All attacks in on the boss. It doesn't matter, the boss is dead, because we have 2 buffs on the boss, and his Gowther only took damage on 1 turn, giving him an extra 10% attack buff, and he's actually going to just finish the boss with his King ultimate. Makes it really, really easy to just blow through the whole fight in about 3 turns. Really nice. Personally, I don't like doing rank ups on the first turn in respect to what he did, because the main reason I don't like doing rank ups on the first turn is because you get less cards ranked up that are good cards that you want to use, and you have less moves that you can do on the characters like King to get more ultimate orbs. What he should have done there is actually done a move on his King after he got his ultimate orb, and just done 2 moves on his King to get 2 ultimate orbs up, so that he would make sure that he would do critical strikes on his King on the second turn. As you can see, it didn't matter, we cleared it, no problem. So now we're doing another variant of the Gray Demon, and we're doing this with neither of us having a Green King. Green King, of course, is the character that is going to be the most boosted here, because as we saw from the passive abilities, he has a ridiculous amount of damage increase from the 30% increase that he would gain specifically because, for just being a fairy, the 10% boost for just being the named King, and the 50% boost that he's going to get in his ultimate damage because the ability has Shattered. Here, I did not receive a rank up. I'm going to let my teammate know I did not get a rank up, and then I'm going to go ahead and dump the cards I don't really care about using. The other thing I'm doing here is I'm also ranking up my Liz's ultimate gauge as fast as I possibly can, while also depleting my cards on the bottom so that I'm able to get more cards later, and that makes it so that I have higher chances of getting a rank up. Now, I'm only going to have 2 chances of getting a rank up, though, on my end, and he'll have 3 chances of getting a rank up on his end, or maybe 4, depending on how many ultimate gauge he has. I did get a rank up, so I'm going to let my teammate know, hey, dude, I got a rank up, but I'm going to go ahead and use a... let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and do a Moverino. We do here? Oh, here. I got this. We got a new strategy. We're going to go like this. I'm going to do this. And we're going to do this. Now I get to keep my Guild Thunder cards for fun. All right. Now he's going to do that. And then he's going to go ahead and throw up a buff and possibly a Merlin shield. Yep. Just so he protects himself, because we don't actually have a ton of damage coming out here for the next turn. I got to make sure that I have as much damage as possible so that we're going to be okay. So here's the double rank up here. I'm gonna have a buff on my Guild Thunder here. He's gonna have a buff in his Hellbrum. Unfortunately, the boss does have a cleanse ability here too. So if the boss does decide to go full send on us, we can get screwed over here by having only 1 buff here. But there's the cleanse on my Gother. Unfortunate, but it does happen. There's nothing you can do about it. And then over here, we have an ult rollback over here, but it's probably gonna do no damage. Boom, doesn't even break the shield. So the really nice thing about bringing Merlin here is it's a very, very safe unit to bring. I'm going to use my buff character here, and then I'm going to go ahead and use a Gother ultimate, and then use a Liz attack card. He's going to use his Hellbrand ultimate, and then possibly another cat card here. So hopefully we do enough damage to about 75% or so of the boss's HP, maybe a little bit more if we get lucky, if he has a lot of damage. I don't know. Ooh, way, way more. Okay, we definitely have the damage. We definitely have the damage. We're fine. We don't need a king at all. Screw king. I don't need king. That's not really a king. I mean, just don't look at that. Anyways. So now that you've noticed that I've actually saved my my Rupture abilities for the very end here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop both of my Rupture abilities and my ultimate ability on the boss, and then he's going to drop his other ability. And of course I have a max ultimate on my Guild Thunder because it's an SR unit. It's very easy to max ultimate on this character. There's a boom, 138,000 there, and then boom, another 138,000 again, and then finally my Guild Thunder ulti to finish off the boss most likely, because Guild Thunder's really just a lot of damage on this boss fight. Kablow, and he's dead. So there are other ways of doing this boss fight, and then you don't need Green King to actually complete it. And the final fight is going to be the Crimson Demon, or Crimson Demon Howlex. It is going to be a demon where it has 200,000 combat class, and it's going to have an advantage rated for demon, and has a disadvantage rated for goddess, which is really interesting. And the super funny thing about this is that even though goddesses have a disadvantage here and will do less damage, they actually still clap, which is so fun. So fun. So we're going to go over the first phase here. The first phase, the boss is going to start out with 2 different abilities. And the first ability the boss has is going to do a spike attack on 1 enemy. The first ability he's going to do on every single character on the field is going to be this one, Hell Torture. He's going to apply a 50% attack against all enemies and disable recovery skills for 1 turn. And eventually he's going to do this weird ability where he actually puts up Blood Awaken, which actually decreases all damage taken by 50%. But that's only after like the 3rd turn or something like that. Yeah, 3rd turn. This boss also does 30% damage to goddesses. I was so curious, by the way, for the longest time, why my red Lizhawk would never survive his shields. Now I know. I now know. I didn't know before. He also decreases damage taken from counterattacks by 30%. And this boss will actually take increased damage from demons. So if you're wondering why Demon Meliodas, or Red Demon Meliodas, does so much damage here but does nowhere near as much damage anywhere else, it's because he actually just takes the increased 30% increased damage because Demon Meliodas is a demon. And he's actually going to take 10% increased damage more because Demon Meliodas also gets extra stats here by an extra 10%. This boss is also going to take extra damage from any ability with weak points. So if you were going to be using Demon Meliodas for his ultimate ability on the final phase, it actually does an increased damage by 50% because it has a weak point ultimate. As you can see, both of those abilities are very heavily structured around Demon Meliodas. First phase is going to have 253,000 HP, which is not that much. Second phase, about 377,000, a respectable amount more. And then third phase has 621,000 HP. So just know that on the third phase versus the first and second, it has a massive HP pool in comparison, and you can see the defense ramps heavily. What's really interesting is the first phase and second phase and third phase are very, very different as far as phases go, and will be very different. The boss is immune to all stun, petrifies, and freezes on every single phase, and immune to all skill disable effects on the first phase as well as the second phase. And the first phase and second phase are going to have an immunity to all abilities that decrease stats. So any kind of bond snatch ability, any kind of defense skills down, defense down, anything like that, the boss is actually immune for the first two phases. But on the third phase, that debuff, that ability actually just falls off entirely, and that's why you can use the bond snatch or any type of debuff skills like from Benimaru on the third phase versus the first two. The second phase of this fight, the boss is going to have, it's going to increase his attack amount from the first phase. So the first phase, he only gets 2 attacks. The second phase, he's actually going to get 3 attacks, and he's going to have 3 attacks from this point on. And he's going to do tons more damage with lots of different cards. He's going to have a lifesteal effect. That's going to be an area effect damage for lifesteal. He's also going to have a spike attack against one enemy. So if it crits, it does double damage on crit. And then it's going to have a Hell Torch ability, same as the first phase, but it's going to do an area effect on all enemies. And it's actually not going to do it as often. He's only going to use the Hell Torch ability just randomly. You actually don't see Hell Torture too often. And he also has Blood Awaken on the second phase. I've actually never seen it though, but he does have it. And his ultimate ability on the second phase is actually going to do 400% attack against one enemy and deplete 2 ultimate gauge. On the final phase, however, he's actually going to have a totally different passive set, as you can see here. The passives change around. He's actually going to have this ability called Brand, and this Brand ability is going to be used from the first turn that he's going to be attacking, and it's going to remove all debuffs from himself, as well as cancel buffs on one enemy and apply this Brand effect. And what the Brand effect does is it basically just makes him focus that target. That's all it does. That's really what it is. His first ability here, he's going to do 100% attack against one enemy and apply Ignite for 3 turns. Second ability is going to be a weak point attack. So if you're wondering what happens, if you have a Merlin shield up, this is why Merlin is a better unit than, say, Green Elizabeth for this fight, because you can actually prevent damage with a shield, and it also prevents the Ignite attack. It also lowers the damage heavily from his second ability, which is weak point based. So if you don't have any debuffs in your character, it makes that very, very good for that. Then the third thing he's going to have is Knuckle Bomb, and it's going to inflict damage equal to 100% attack on one enemy, and disable all recovery skills for 3 turns. And I don't remember seeing Knuckle Bomb that often, but what are you going to do? The ominous order that he has, he uses Brand when marking when there is no target with Brand on a debuff, and if there is a Brand target on the field, removes all debuff enemy's unique effect. The Brand is basically used on the first turn, then the second turn. First turn, then the third turn. So every other turn he uses the Brand ability. He also uses Knuckle Bomb every 2 turns. That's what it is. So there's a pattern description at the very bottom here. It says Demon Howlex will also increase his defense-related stats and attack-related stats when attacked by heroes. Branded targets will be attacked until dead. So these are the last little details that you're gonna have to worry about. Every attack that you do against him, or maybe just at the start of the following turn, will increase his defense-related stats. So what my experience is if you actually skip attacking Demon Howlex, he might reset. I don't know. I haven't seen it yet, but maybe it could happen. I don't know. I've never actually seen anyone try this, but you could try it. I don't know. I've yet to see anyone try it. But on the following turn, his defense-related stats are very, very strong. So if you are going to attack at all on the first turn, definitely try to kill him on the first turn when you enter the third phase, because then on the following turn from that, he will have incredible stat gains. Ultimate ability is a one-shot on basically everyone. You can get around it later on in other teams, and you could potentially get around with it, but most often you're going to die on his ultimate. Many people decide to use Demon Meliodas as a DPS unit. Particularly what I used to use is a Red Lizhawk. The reason I use Red Lizhawk is because she actually does a ridiculous amount of damage and has the ability Rush, which goes through enemies' defense abilities. I am ending up using an attack defense set on my Elizabeth, and I'm using a Gil Thunder and making sure my Go-Through is in the middle position. The reason my Go-Through is in the middle position is so I can actually make sure that I get a rank up on my cards, and I'm ending up using gold food, increasing my gold value in order to get myself the most amount of gold and resources for this fight. And the other side I saw my friend go through is on the left hand side. Making sure our go through staggered is very important before we start the run. Now I also noticed that my friend over here is going to be using gold gain. There's like Howlex ears and ear gain as well, so he really needs to make sure that he gets this win. So I know this guy has played this before. Now, most people, when they're doing a Crimson Demon, typically do not use the Green Liz, because Green Liz is actually a very, very difficult unit to use because of her inability to use healing skills after turn 1. But if you do rush her ultimate on turn 1, you are able to get rushed ultis on your entire team, making the run a little bit easier. However, this is kind of a hit and miss strategy for the Crimson Demon. I particularly like this the strategy for rushing ultimates on the first demon, on the Gray Demon in particular, because when you rush ultis on the Gray Demon, it's a lot easier to boost the King's damage versus on this fight where you're not really boosting any character's damage. And I in particular like a Merlin better because a shield I find to be more useful on the first phase and a lot less RNG based, as on the first phase here for Crimson, the initial AoE attack that Crimson does will actually lock out healing skills, which is a very negative thing. So I know that the first card that this guy got on his end was a Gother attack seal card. It merged on his end, so that's why he had an extra rank up orb here. And then the second card he also received was a Elizabeth card. So he did an attack here with the Elizabeth, he moved the Elizabeth card onto the Elizabeth, and then he attacked. So because of that, I know neither of us has a rank up right now, so I'm going to go ahead and attack on all my units and dump all my crappy cards. The reason you want to dump crappy cards on the first turn is because you want to make sure that you have the maximum potential possible to get a rank up card on the second turn. Now, if you don't receive a rank up card on the second turn, what he did was he brought a green Elizabeth here as a safety net, and the safety net he provided, of course, is with an ultimate ability on his Elizabeth. Now, this is actually a really clever safety net because you can't use healing skills on this fight, but you can use a green Elizabeth ulti to heal your team back to full. Now, I don't have a rank up ability, so I'm going to say I don't have a rank up ability to use my downs. Oh my god, I'm sad for this card. I'm making sure that he has one. If he doesn't have one, oh well. I'm going to go ahead and dump some cards here. I'm going to use one of my buffs because I don't need both of them. And I am just going to go ahead and just dump some extra cards here. Now, I don't want to get any ultimates on this turn. It's a very important thing to remember that Liz ultimate here will increase my ultimate levels. Getting ultimates on the first turn is actually not the best thing, because if you do get ultimates right here, you are actually going to have way less chances in order to get rank up cards. So I only had 2 chances to get rank up cards here because I did get an ultimate. Here comes his AoE ability. Boom. Did we get anything? No, because he's using Liz. And this is one of the reasons I choose not to use Liz on the Crimson Demon. Okay, another strategy you can be using for the Crimson Demon is, of course, you can use an Arthur, and this will give you a little more survivability, and you can use a Red Liz, and this is for a heal over time. This will, anytime the Crimson Demon hits you, you're actually getting 10% of your max HP back. I'm going to be using this with a Merlin to give myself a little bit more of a defensive buff, and by using an Arthur here as well as a Merlin, our team is much tankier, and we have way less room of dying on this fight. Personally, I like going with a Gil Thunder and a Merlin as my priority composition to use. It's probably the fastest and safest blend overall. Using 2 different buffs, though, on one team for Crimson is a little bit tricky and personally not my favorite way to go. I know on his end he got 2 of his attack skills for Gother. Yes, I'm aware you did not get any rank ups. I know exactly what you got. I'm going to go ahead and just do my card dump here, as well as a shield on Merlin. The shield on Merlin is actually very, very nice for this, and the reason it's super good is what it does is it prevents the initial amount of damage we're taking by a significant amount. And by just doing some chip damage to the boss here, we're going to have more than enough damage to kill him. He actually doesn't have a lot of HP on the first phase, and it makes it very, very easy. And unfortunately, neither of us got a rank up here. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to focus on killing the boss pretty early on here. And luckily, we actually got focused on Arthur here. Now, the really nice thing on this team is that since we took that Merlin shield, you'll notice that everyone's near max HP. And because everyone's at near max HP, we can actually go another turn. And the benefit of using this instead of a Liz is we actually don't have to worry about any ultimate cards on the first turn, which gives us more chances of getting a rank up. Now, unfortunately, we did not get a rank up in the second turn here, and it does happen that way sometimes. Probably about 20% of runs, you get a you get an unlucky run where you're not getting any rank ups, and you either try to go for the kill in the Crimson Demon first heart, or you just chill out. It really just depends on your RNG and what's going on with the fight. Honestly, if it happens like that, you're just gonna have to deal. And it looks like we did not get a rank up. I'm gonna let him know I did not get a rank up either. So what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna do a solo rank up on my Lizhawk, and I'm gonna wait for him to do his thing. I do not have a rank up. I do not have a rank up. I do not have a rank up. Go ahead, do your thing. Buff away. Just use your damage. We'll see what we got, buddy. I have to full send damage here for us. Okay? Do the buff. Do the buff. Rank up buff. Do the buff. Need a buff. We need a buff. No, we need a buff. It's not a buff. That's not a buff. That's two DPS cards. That's a dump. That's the exact opposite of what we needed. Okay, buddy? We needed a buff card. We needed a buff card there. You're holding your buff, bro. It's what are you doing, my guy? We need a buff to survive. That's the whole thing you bring Arthur for, right? You bring him for survivability, just in case we get screwed over. You don't just sit there and not buff. I don't know why you're holding your buff card. Just buff, bro. Oh, you got a rank up now? I don't have a rank up anymore because you should have just used your fucking buff. If you had used your buff, we would have been done already. Do your I'm waiting for you. I'm literally waiting whole time. Just waiting for you. Neither of us got a rank up for 3 turns, so we have to go. We can't wait. We gotta go. Use your buff. I'm waiting. Rank up buff. Do your 3-star buff right here. I'm waiting. Whole time. I'm waiting. 2-star buff, 2-star rank up, and then another rank up, and oh, he's got 3 rank ups. Okay, so now he's relying on me to do all the damages here. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this, and then we'll do this. He does the rank up, then he does the rank up. Okay, we can just go with the all-in damage there. I do the rank up, you do the rank up. I do the rank up, you do the rank up. But when you don't have the damages, you're like, go. Just go, dude. Just go. 3rd turn, we gotta go. We cannot wait for rank ups anymore. It's over. Okay? Okay, we've now cleared the fight because I had the buff. You could have just used the 2-star buff. We'd been fine with that, you know? Just rank up once and do the 2-star buff. It's fine. It's only 2 turns left. You know? So now I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, and then this. We're done. GG. I could have waited for the ignites, but I don't care. So by just doing the rank up bops and everything here, this is the safest team that you can run. It will have a very, very high clear rate because you have all the T's up, all the dies up, all the G's up, all that shit. And it's very, very nice to use multiple DPS characters, but a shield character plus DPS character like Merlin, because having a DPS ulti like this does give you a little bit extra damage at the end here. So even if you get screwed over on rank ups and not able to do the double rank up, you're much easier off. And as you can see here, get some RNG to do that. Alright guys, well thank you so much for watching this video. If you guys did enjoy the video, please go ahead and go to the forum page down below and of course vote for the video as being the best deathmatch guide, and you can let everybody know that it is that. This is of course just for the Netmarble contest, and that's the only reason I made this video, so hopefully it turns out well and we end up getting good stuff. But again, thank you for watching, like, subscribe, all the fun stuff. Have a great rest of your day guys. Peace.